Hello and thank you for joining me. This is Taliesin McKnight, and today's subject is the great secret of magic, the great secret of occultism. Are there secrets held within plain sight behind occult symbolism? And is there a secret doctrine that is hidden behind what a lot of the occult books talk about? Are they really getting into the secrets, or is there something behind the symbolism found within occultism? Today we're going to go in a little deeply into occult symbolism in search of the great magical secret, which is the will. The will. Today we are going to be searching through occult symbols, and occult symbols are the relics of hidden wisdom. Occult symbols are the relics of hidden wisdom. And of course, some occultists do create symbols. Obviously, these occult symbols are placed there by someone, and there's the aspect of maybe they have a deeper knowledge than they're saying that's behind the surface. And then you have the unconscious aspect of symbols. So that symbols also stem from the unconscious. Dreams use symbols. Man has a symbol-making faculty. So today we're going to talk about the will. And the will is believed by many to be the secret of occultism. The secret. And here you see two pillars. These are two pillars that you see in Freemasonry. You have Boaz and Jachin, which really there's no J in Hebrew. It's the letter Yud. So Boaz and Jachin. You have the two pillars, the twin pillars. And you'll see this occult symbolism quite a bit, the two pillars. It's found in the Kabbalistic tree of life. So these twin pillars represent opposites. And you find this idea of duality throughout occult symbolism. So first of all, you hear the term will thrown around a lot. What is the will? The will is often interpreted as a burning desire. It is a fiery energy. It's a drive to accomplish. You could say, for example, my will is to lose weight, or my will is to find true love. Your will is to, whatever your goal is, people talk about their will. They will something to exist. They will something into being. It is a fiery conviction that the vision that you see of what you want is a truth. It will manifest. It is the fiery energy of burning desire and conviction. I guess that's a good way to define it. That is a fiery energy. That's how a lot of people interpret will. Or some people talk about their true will, which is discover their true will of their higher nature. However you want to see it. Will is a fiery, active energy to accomplish. Now this fiery, active force is Jachin. It is a fiery energy. It is the fiery, active drive. It is a driving force. And this is represented by the pillar of Jachin. And in alchemy, it is sulfur or brimstone. Sulfur is a fiery, hot chemical. Brimstone. People talk about fire and brimstone. Sulfur, of course, you have sulfur on matches. and with friction it ignites into fire. This is the fiery principle. It is that fiery active aspect of will. But is this all? Is that all that the will is? Will is also, well, I'll get into that in a minute. So will is also restraint. It is self-control. It is self-discipline. That's willpower as well. So this is the cooling aspect of the will. This is that part that puts the brakes, so to speak, on this fiery part. So the fiery energy, which is also a sexual energy as well, the libido, aggression, fire, passion. The cooling aspect of the will is self-restraint. So let's say your will is to lose weight. So that's part of that aspect of will, is to lose weight. The cooling, restraining aspect of will, you see a donut. You want it. Your fiery aspect of your nature wants that donut. Your cooling aspect says, no, I will not eat that donut. It's self-control. Or it's that aspect of yourself that makes you do things you don't feel like. It's self-restraint, self-control. And you see this in the strength card, this interplay between the two opposite aspects of will. The strength card shows, in many decks, shows a maiden in the Rider-Waite deck holding the mouth shut of a lion. So it's a maiden taming a lion. It is that self-restraint aspect of the will. Now the lion, now the strength card, which is the 8th key of the major arcana, is often ascribed to the Hebrew letter Tet. And the Hebrew letter Tet means serpent. I'll get a little bit more into the serpent symbolism here in a minute. And it's ascribed to Leo. And of course, on the strength card, you see the lion. The lion represents fiery heat. In the northern hemisphere, it's used to represent, in the tropical zodiac, the heat of August, the hot of summer, the heat of summer. So the lion is sulfur. It is that fiery active energy. Now, the maiden is Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury. And Mercury in alchemy is this cooling lunar symbolism. So sulfur, the lion, is solar. The maiden is lunar. So you see in the strength card, the lunar aspect of will taming that fiery nature. So today we're talking about these two aspects of the will, and this often has a sexual symbolism. A sexual symbolism, which has to do with the interplay of opposites. Now, this fiery energy of the serpent is often said to represent sexual energy, in a sense. It is the fiery libido. It is the passion, the sexual drive. Now, Sigmund Freud, I'm not a big fan of him, but he believed that the libido was the key to everything, sexual energy. And he believed that neuroses and psychoses were caused by a repression of the libido, repression of sexuality. Carl Jung went a little deeper and said, no, the libido is sexual energy, but it also represents, in a sense, psychic energy. So the libido, a fiery, active, sexual energy. And notice, how do you build a fire? Well, you could use flint, but also you take a stick on a piece of wood, and you do it like this, you can see it's like boring a hole. You can see a little bit of sexual symbolism there. And the friction between two forces produces heat. You can see two people rubbing up against each other. I'm just saying, fiery, hot energy, the libido, the passion, passionate desire. Now, this interplay of opposites is also represented by one of the oldest symbols known to man, which is the caduceus wand. The caduceus wand shows a staff, a wand, which is a phallic symbol, sexual energy, libido, you could say. And it shows two serpents mating, or two serpents twined around the staff. This is often seen to represent opposites. Now, this is the wand of Hermes, the Greek god Hermes, who is the messenger of the gods. Zeus often gives orders to Hermes to come and tell so-and-so this or that, and he goes and reports to Zeus, in addition to other deities as well, Iris. But Hermes represents the messenger of the gods and the exchange of opposites. So Hermes governs communication. Mercury is communication, which is the exchange of ideas between two people, and also commerce. And commerce is the exchange of goods and money between two people. So it's the exchange of energy between opposites is Hermes, Mercury. So, and the Herm, the rock pillar, the stone, you can see a little symbolism there of exchange of opposites. And his symbol is the caduceus wand. The wand, the rod with two serpents twined about it. Now, the caduceus wand, the story found in Greek mythology of how the caduceus wand came about is that the prophet Tiresias, who's found within Sophocles' play Oedipus Rex, Tiresias, the blind prophet, well, he finds two serpents mating, finds two serpents having sex. So he sticks his wand in between the serpents. So you see serpents having sex. He sticks his wand in between the serpents and he changes into a woman. And Tiresias is a woman, so mating, sex, serpents having sex, sticks his rod in between the serpents having sex, and he changes from masculine to feminine. For 7 years. 7 years later, he finds two serpents having sex again, and he sticks his rod in between them, and he changes back into a man. So you can see clear sexual symbolism. Tiresias places the wand, the caduceus, in a cave, which is later discovered by Hermes. Okay, so it's a powerful force. So anyways, the wand of Hermes, the caduceus wand, shows two serpents around a staff. And this is also seen by some to represent the interplay of the masculine and feminine. It's two currents of energies in the body. In yoga, you have the two opposing currents of Ida and Pingala, the two serpents around the staff of the spinal column, and the serpent energy of Kundalini, okay? And in the Qabalah, which the Kabbalistic tree of life also represents the human body, and the spheres, Keter, the different spheres on the tree of life represent focuses of energy on the body, and the 22 paths represent currents of energy in the body. And the two pillars on the tree of life, Yakin and Boaz, represent two opposing currents of energy. So that's interesting. You find this in Qabalah. You find it, what appears to be an ancient Greek symbolism, similar idea. And you also find it in yoga. And of course, will ties into life force energy, which I already talked about, the astral light. So the will manifests in a fiery impulse, which is partially the libido, and also in a restraint, self-control, self-mastery. Remember the strength card, the fiery lion sulfur, tamed by the maiden, which is Virgo, the virgin. So impulse and control, the powers of the sun and moon. And in alchemy, of course, the perfect balance of sulfur and mercury and refinement of the metal produces gold. It's the great work. So, we see here the fiery impulse, I want to accomplish this aspect of will. And then self-control, which is the cooling lunar principle of the fiery hot principle. And of course, the fiery impulse is directed outwardly. I will this to occur. You could see a sword, a commanding wand or sword, a rod of power, commanding outside. Whereas the lunar cooling aspect is directed inwards, self-control, self-conquest. So in the tarot sequence, you do seem to see a secret doctrine contained there. The Fool, ascribed to 0 in many decks. The Fool, which is 0, is reception of the universal energy. It is potential. The Magician is will. He directs his willpower. Notice the infinity symbol, or the sideways 8, is also ascribed to the 8th key, because the strength card also shows the same infinity symbol of energy as over the Magician, whose will. Interesting. The Magician applies will with concentrated force. The Magician is a point. It is concentration upon one thing. One pointed concentration upon a goal. The High Priestess sits in between two pillars. Two pillars. The High Priestess card. The Empress is the fertile mother. She holds the heart with a shield of a heart, Aphrodite with a dove, Aphrodite. The next one is the Emperor, fiery active energy, and you see masculine and feminine, Emperor and Empress. The next one is the Hierophant, and on the Rider-Waite deck, he has two figures in front of him. One has red roses, the other lilies. So you see an interplay of opposing forces. And Zion, the sword, divides. Now Vav, the Hebrew letter Vav, ascribed to the Hierophant, brings two things together. A Vav is a nail or a hook. It is about union. And in Hebrew, the letter Vav means and. It joins ideas together. Whereas the lovers, Zion is a sword, it divides. And you see two figures in the Lover's card, which is ascribed to Gemini, the twins. So you see this interplay of opposites and a directing of some kind of force. That's interesting. The Lovers is followed by the Chariot. The Chariot shows a charioteer directing a white horse and a black horse. So wait a minute. The Chariot card, a charioteer directs a black horse and a white horse. He controls these two opposing forces, the fiery, the hot and cooling aspect, sun and moon. The charioteer controls a white horse and black horse. This derives straight from Plato's chariot allegory of the soul. So the image of the chariot with a white and black horse dates back 2,400 years to Plato. And in Plato says that the chariot, the soul of man, is a winged thing, but since we are not able to direct our horses, and he said the black horse is our impulse, our impulses, whereas the white horse is our restraint, or the moral impulse, or thumos, which is kind of a hard word to translate. But because we can't control the horses, especially the black horse, the impulse, we fall down to earth. And of course, the chariot also goes into the Merkaba. Now, the chariot is ascribed to 7. Now, chariot is Chet, the Cancer, the crab. So anyways, I'm going off, but you see 2 forces in the chariot card. The next card is strength, which is the maiden taming the lion. So you see Mercury and sulfur, 2 aspects of will. The next one is the hermit, which shows a hermit, probably a celibate monk, holding a rod with a light, a lantern. The next one is the wheel of fortune, which you can see is sort of circulation of energy. The next one is justice, Libra, the scales, which is a balance. The hanged man, you could see an ascetic hanged man. Death, temperance, which is the balance of opposites. The devil, the tower, you can see some kind of a process here. The star, the moon, the sun, judgment, which you see a balance, and then the world. Okay, so it's interesting. Sorry, this is kind of long drawn out, but things keep coming to mind. So anyways, the directing of a dual force. We already went over the caduceus wand. Now, the liberation of will has to do with self-restraint. You have to ask yourself, are you really free if you're controlled by impulses? So that self-restraint aspect of will. Alcoholism, obesity. If you can't stop from drinking alcohol, are you really free? Is your will free if you're enslaved to an addiction? No. Free will would be to not, because if you're like, I don't want to drink, and then you get a beer and drink it, any kind of addiction, obesity, you lack the self-restraint to keep eating, you're enslaved. So this self-mastery is an aspect of will. And to liberate the will is to withdraw the fiery will from the enchainments of the body. Notice Baphomet shows 2 horns, the friction of 2 opposing forces, and the flame of illumination coming up. Of course, Baphomet also of Eliphas Levi shows the caduceus for genitals, and the two horns and the flame of Kundalini. And of course, Tantra. Your libido is sublimated into higher forces. So, going into different forms of occult symbolism, we can keep going. The 2 pillars of the Qabalah, the Kabbalistic tree of life, the caduceus wand, the system of yoga, and the chakras. You find this everywhere present within the tarot, a secret doctrine. You have the scales of balance, the 2 pillars. Jacob wrestles with an angel all night, or with God, and is renamed Israel. This self-conquest. Again, fiery friction is the friction of 2 energies, produces the flame of illumination. Self-conquest. So there is an idea of a fiery energy and its control. The virgin bruising the head of the serpent. This is the virgin, Virgo, bruising the head of the serpent, the libido, to direct it properly. So yes, a fiery energy, and also to direct that energy. Now, what if you can direct the libido, the sexual force, to accomplish a goal? There must be a reason that there is a self-restraint aspect. This is sublimation, when the sexual energy is sublimated into higher forces. Anyways, all I'm saying is sublimation, the ability to direct this force into higher forces. Okay, so you have the libido, this fiery action, this fiery energy, sulfur, the fiery energy and drive to accomplish a goal. And then you have the cooling lunar aspect, which directs that force. Remember, in the Qabalah, the middle pillar is the pillar of ascent, the middle way, the middle path. It is the rod with the two serpents twined about it. It is the strength card. So you see a sexual symbolism and the idea of a drive to accomplish and the ability to restrain that impulse, to direct it and channel it towards a desire. Notice that the magician is focused on one thing. It is to focus that force upon one thing. The fool is potential. It is potential. It is the zero. It is the not. It is the lack of things. Whereas the magician is ascribed to one. It is one pointedness. It is one pointed concentration. It is taking that energy and directing it towards a specific goal. So, I think it's interesting to look at symbolism, and symbols could be interpreted in different ways, but it's interesting how symbols have been used by different cultures, and, you know, maybe there are some universal symbols, and some symbols are different, but to see, it's possible that there might be a secret doctrine held within plain sight behind occult symbols. So anyway, that is the will. It is the serpent. It is the fiery energy directed and controlled. So that is the dual aspect of will, and there will be a lot more to come, y'all. And that is today's lesson. Thank you for joining me, and see y'all next time. Have a great day, y'all.